We are.
Look at our setup is pretty good.
It's just
today.
good. It's
That's all
classy,
have
I
to
would say.
We're like
It's like semi-professional.
Yeah, we're
Two people that went to school for media.
us.
Things happen.
You know.
Young professionals.
Well, I will
Florida.
say, I did bring a little fun surprise today.
You did?
I did. Well, I did.
I do love a surprise. You went to
So,
Trader Joe's.
It's
He
not
went to Jared.
It's not necessarily Trader Joe's, but we have some options. You could choose either wig, or we have like shape.
This is great.
And
This
also
is really nice.
also pipe.
Also,
So
a
regular Sherlock.
a regular old Sherlock Holmes.
Yes.
I feel that it's touching me. I already have this haircut, so I think that you should wear
So you should put your hair back, and that'll be like
my little wiglet. Yeah, I can kind of duplicate.
Okay. So how do we look?
You look great.
Pretty fantastic right there.
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 Pretty much it, right?
That's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. Okay, and then I'll put this on. Should I do over the chair? I can't see much. This little like cliplet doesn't seem to. It doesn't have a.
I just gotta let it hang.
Let it hang. That seems good. Okay.
Because it's over the chair.
It's very large.
It's silky too.
Goodness, how did they do this back then?
I really don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
What are we here to talk about today? These props have left me curious. Oh God. They're so streamlined.
I know, right? Should we like start officially?
Yeah.
I guess has this all been considered part of it?
I thought it was.
Maybe we won't even cut this.
I kind of like it.
I like it. Well, anyway, today is a very special episode because we are for the first time in person together.
For the first time we've never
known each other.
been in person ever.
I don't think we've ever met each other until today.
We were internet friends.
Pen pal.
Pen pals. The Pony Express, 100%. I feel as though my mic is very close to my face.
Okay.
Okay. There we go. That seems better. Because my chin... Oh! My chin kept touching it, which made me nervous.
It should be fine.
Now it's on there good. That's good. That's a normal location.
But anyway, today is a very special episode.
Yes.
Because we get to do it in person.
Huge.
Welcome back to the Mostly True podcast, presented by New Spark Entertainment. Mostly True is a podcast where we teach you about music history the way we wish we'd been taught. Today, the episode will be hosted by me, Mitch, and
me, Emily.
And like I said earlier, it's a very special podcast because for the first time in this podcast's history, it's infant history.
Yes. Month old.
It's month-old history. We are in person.
Huge.
So,
yes.
Very big. Today, we're talking about
Joseph Haydn.
If you couldn't tell from
the
outfits and the wig.
Is what he famously wore all the time.
Yes. And I mean, well, actually, I don't know about the cape.
I have no idea if
he found the cape.
Ever wore a cape. I bet. At least once.
Things.
Like a pretty standard part of a wardrobe. If I was alive back then, I would have been caping.
I would have been caping all the time. I don't know why we didn't more.
A daily caper.
I think we should just bring capes back.
Bring back the cape.
Bring back the cape.
BBC.
We also are sipping tea and spilling tea. So,
cheers.
Cheers.
Love it.
Enter intro.
Welcome to Mostly True. It's like a podcast.
So let's break the tea down.
Break that tea down.
We are talking Joseph Haydn.
We are.
And Haydn he is one of our Austrian German composers.
Yes, Austrian. Like the Austrian. I mean, not the. There's several others, but
there's actually no one else born from Austria.
He's the one and only.
But yeah, so he was born not 19. I keep
If
doing
only,
this. I
if
just
only.
keep saying the wrong dates.
Yeah.
1732 and died in 1809. So he is kind of bringing us into the classical period.
Yeah.
We are deep into the classical period now.
He was all up in there.
When was the classical period?
Like 1750 to 1820, roughly. And he died in 1809. So from 1732 to 1809, he was like the embodiment of the classical period, I would say.
Yeah, I think he's
Yes.
kind of his big contributions to classical music that I remember us learning about. The big contributions were string
He
quartet.
loved him.
He loved a string quartet,
Mm-hmm.
and he was big. He kind of was the symphony daddy,
Yes.
the daddy of the symphony.
Yeah, symphony papa.
The symphony papa, symphony papa,
Exactly.
and string quartet papa.
Yeah, that's spot on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he was born in Austria to apparently a very musical family, and I guess that's kind of where his musical instinct came from. His father was apparently a folk musician, and he was, I guess, showed musical promise because by the time he was only 6, he had become the apprentice to a nearby choir master. And something crazy about apprenticeship back then is first you could do that when you were 6 years old, which usually age prohibited these days.
There's usually some laws about
barriers there, but also that apparently if you were like an apprentice to someone, you would move into their house
and just work for
and
fully work,
just be there. Yeah, so he moved in with this man named Johann Frank and never lived with his family again. He moved out at age 6 and he never went back. And these people apparently were notably poor, and he was not fed very well, apparently, while he was living with the Frank family. But he was a very talented kid. He could play instruments, he could sing, he could do it all. He could do so well with the singing that he actually ended up singing at the St. Stephen's Cathedral in Vienna.
Which we have been.
We have been there.
We have pictures. Show the pictures.
YouTube movie magic.
Magic.
Yeah. So he was a choir boy there for 9 years. So now he's 15. Well, he's probably a little older than that. 17 maybe.
Yeah.
But he wasn't fed well even apparently at St. Stephen's. He was actually known to be a little short man, likely because of his lack of nutrients, unfortunately. Yeah. But given that kind of we don't have food at home, he was encouraged to sing really well, to gain opportunities to sing for really fancy audiences, because apparently if you were invited to sing for a count or
I'd get a little
a baroness, yes, exactly, you get a little meal, maybe a little drink, something. He had to sing for his supper, quite literally,
essentially.
Yes. Yeah. So at this point he's 17 years old. I was right, 17.
Yes.
It's 1749. He's still at St. Stephen's Cathedral, and he has this little pranky streak going on, which
Haydn was a prankster.
He was, and is cultivated and kind of came to upheaval when he pranked a classmate by cutting off their pigtail, like yours,
No,
just like yours. If I were to snip this off,
snip.
And he was punished pretty aggressively. He was caned and then dismissed from St. Stephen's. And at this point, he can't really sing. He's not a castrati, so he can't really sing the high stuff anymore.
Yeah, all of the choir boys.
They're boys,
also,
not
yeah, and he was also. I think it was interesting. While we were doing the research, he was also known to be really not the greatest singer.
This is true.
There was an empress, Maria
Teresa.
Maria Teresa. I don't know why it's a TH, Teresa, but
especially in Austria.
But apparently she complained once and described his singing as crowing. So he sounded like a crow. Like a crow, not a bird.
Not a boy.
Not a bird, not a boy, a crow.
A crow. Not the most flattering thing to say about someone.
No.
So now he's jobless, homeless, short.
Short.
And he needs
not a good combination.
No, the 3 worst things you can be
Short.
honestly, insult to injury. So he becomes a freelancer. He's working as a music teacher, something called a street serenader,
Ooh.
which I imagine is like
Just a
busking.
busker.
Yeah, he's just crowing in the street, I guess. And eventually something called a valet accompanist, to someone who taught him how to compose.
Ballet accompanist. That's a term that I don't feel like you hear really ever.
Yeah, I would
Uh,
agree.
But I
I
think
haven't heard it ever.
it was like a pretty common term back then.
Yeah. Same
I
with
guess
barber surgeon.
Barbara surgeon.
Barber surgeon.
But it was kind of the same as like having an assistant, but just like in the musical sense,
Yeah.
where they were around, and he would accompany for the composer and was his personal valet.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, take my coat, take my crap,
Yeah.
come back here, warm up with me,
Mm-hmm.
park my carriage,
Yes.
all that stuff.
Take my horse.
Take my horse.
Take my keys.
So thankfully he found
Take my reins.
take it away. He found work. He thankfully found work. And as he became more skilled in his work, he became pretty well known. He kind of had a reputation. And at this point, he wrote one of his first operas called Der Krumme Teufel, or the Limping Devil. And it was actually this was commissioned by someone who was like a well-known singer at this point. So it was like, okay, I'll do this work with you. And then it was actually closed by censors for offensive remarks.
Yeah.
This was sort of the original star vehicle, if you will.
Yeah.
The original
'Cause
funny
it was
girl.
it was for this actor, like this comedic actor was what he wrote it for. And I guess he was a little too edgy, got a little too edgy with his opera.
And he got shut down.
He
got canceled.
He got canceled.
Unfortunately. And at this point, he was also apparently very annoyed that the things that he was writing, because he was writing a lot of music, he was doing commissions and stuff, but he wasn't trademarking any of it, and he wasn't like publishing it under his own name. And instead, the things that he was giving away, people were then taking and publishing them under their own name, and he was not getting any of the benefit for these things. And so it was sort of like, if I'm going to make money, I need to get in with someone rich. That was sort of the way that musicians made money back then. And so he got in with some aristocrats, eventually becoming the Kapellmeister for a man named Count Morzin. What's a Kapellmeister, Mitchell?
What's a Kapellmeister? They were essentially the Austrian term, the German term, for like music director.
Yeah, exactly. And so he was like music directing this tiny orchestra that this guy just like owned, which is pretty cool to just have your own orchestra. And so he led the orchestra, he composed for the orchestra, and he traveled around with this guy because he had multiple estates, and so he would go from place to place.
My favorite tea.
Exactly. And so at this point,
1760,
fateful year. Wedding bells are ringing.
Wedding bells. And
Who does he marry?
Who does he marry? Maria. There's so many freaking Marias.
It's kind of one of the more common names.
But especially, like, there were so many Marias, it felt like, in Italy that we talked about.
Yes, this is true.
And now we're in Austria. And Maria again.
Maria, she's
another
back.
Maria.
It's a different Maria than the one
I would hope it's a different Maria.
Yes. But apparently this Maria is the sister of someone that he was once in love with, but was like rejected from or something.
That's tea.
And that's definitely tea. So they get married. But they had a very unhappy marriage. They didn't have children.
No kids.
They both took lovers.
They both said, you mind?
You can step out on me. I'll step out on you. It was a pretty modern configuration.
It also sounds like in some of the reading that you do, it's a little bit like, oh, it's not substantiated. Like there's a chance that whereas this one, it very much felt like, oh, everybody knew.
Everyone knows.
It is known fact that they both were like, nah.
This is not working for me.
We'll keep things up for appearances, but also everyone knows that we are
not together. I think it's also like the church at that point was not just like giving out divorces.
That's true.
So they were probably like, we can't really
get
end
divorced.
this, so we can just take outside appointments, basically.
We'll
Yeah,
hire out our
help. Exactly. Okay, so at this point, his boss, Mr. Count Morzin, apparently has some bad luck with money, and so Mr. Haydn was let go. But he found a new job soon as the vice Kapellmeister for the Esterhazy family.
And that's a big name.
Pretty big
It's a
name.
pretty big name.
Yes. And I couldn't tell you exactly what they did, but I know that they had a lot of property and they were very important in like the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Mm-hmm.
Quite powerful. And so as the vice Kapellmeister, because this is like a pretty big project, I guess, he was in charge of all the secular music, but then the other guy, the head Kapellmeister, he died. So then he became the full Kapellmeister.
Full Capel.
Which is pretty awesome, I guess. Yes. So he did all kinds of things for that family. Apparently it was like a back-breaking workload. He was like churning out music. He was directing and composing constantly. He was traveling with the family. But at the same time, this allowed him like pretty major creative control and also a lot of financial support. He worked there for 30 years. And he did the bulk of his very famous work while working for the Esterhazy family.
Yeah, I think this is where we got a lot of the string quartets from this.
Yes.
Right?
String quartet heavy time for him,
Yeah.
honestly.
So, yeah, so this is, especially when we talk about Haydn, like we said at the beginning, he's like known as
Mr.
the
String
daddy
Quartet.
of two things. String quartet and symphony. And so this is he's in his string quartet era.
He is in his string quartet era. You can say that. So his boss is Prince Nikolaus Esterhazy. And this man gets super into opera around this time. This is like the 1770s.
It's a super poppin' time.
Yes, super poppin' for opera.
Super poppin'
The
opera.
pop, if
The
you will.
popera.
So
The
he
opera time.
decides he builds a theater in Esterhazy, which is like the place where they live, and he like puts together this the infrastructure basically for an opera company. And Haydn becomes the company director and he writes a bunch of operas. This was kind of his first like foray into more operas, because he wrote that other one that got canceled, unfortunately. But now he's in his opera era.
Yeah, and something else I think that's important that will come up later is that Esterhazy is kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Very true.
It's pretty remote. It's kind of where they built a lot of this stuff, and it's where Haydn
He's living there.
He's living there.
Yeah.
He's doing all of his work. So
Not isolating.
Yeah, so it's kind of leads into like he's able to renegotiate his contract, and I think part of that kind of comes from like being out so far away from so much that he's like, I'm
losing it.
Yeah.
I'm losing relevancy too.
Yeah.
He like, I really want to, he had started to, I don't think he had to realize this. I think he knew this, but all of his compositions were property of the family, the Esterhazy family, while he was working for them under his original contract. And so he wasn't receiving any of the money from these compositions and no publishing rights, none of this. And so he renegotiates this. And what he's able to do is he's allowed to write for other people and he's allowed to sell his own work to publishers, which is that's pretty much what Taylor Swift recently was able to do.
Yeah. So, this is Taylor Swift is the modern day Haydn.
That's exactly right.
She said, I'm not working for the Esterhazys.
I want to publish my own music.
I want my own. Yeah. Esterhazys can't have it.
Exactly. And so he basically becomes an international pop star at this point. Because now that he can write for other people, he's taking commissions. He's sending his music out into the world.
You're seeing his name on more of the positions.
Yes. And so he's at this point both very famous but also pretty secluded still, because he's bound to his duties at Esterhazy. And at this point he's like the king of the string quartets, but he starts taking commissions like the Paris Symphonies and also some stuff in Spain. So he starts writing symphonies, and at this point he's like, I'm super lonely here. There's not a ton going on for me socially because it's just kind of him and the orchestra and the opera company people. And he starts to really miss his friends in Vienna, especially one of his pals, another Maria, a woman named Maria Anna von Genzinger, who was the wife of Prince Nikolaus's personal physician.
That one takes a bit to go backwards. Friend of Prince's so it's the physician's friend.
His boss is Prince Nicholas, right?
Yes.
His
boss
personal
is
physician.
Doctor's friend.
His boss's doctor's wife.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
So he's...
And now they're friends.
Now they're friends. He is friends with her, apparently.
Yes.
Unclear if it was more or less than friendly. Probably not less than friendly. Probably more than friendly. Hard to
Unclear
know.
how friendly, yes.
But apparently he would write her letters talking about how sad he was in Esterhazy and how thrilled he was to visit her in Vienna. But then she died.
Sad.
She died in 1793 at a pretty young age. And historically, this lines up with around the time that he wrote a bunch of pieces we refer to as the F minor variations, which seemed markedly more emotional and sad and sort of downtrodden. And so it would make sense if he was inspired by the death of his friend or lover.
We don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows?
So at this point, he's good friends with Mozart.
Our buddy Mozart.
Who we know.
We'll talk about.
Exactly. We'll get there. And sometimes they would basically play in a band together.
They were in a band.
And
at this point, how old is Haydn? He's a bit older.
He's older now.
Because I think it's interesting. Like, I think the dynamic between Mozart and Haydn that I read about was kind of interesting too. Because Mozart, I mean, notoriously like this child prodigy,
yes.
and so he actually, I think, which is kind of adorable, called Haydn Papa Haydn.
Yes. Very cute.
And he even dedicated
that's right.
The Haydn quartet?
The Haydn quartet.
The Haydn quartet.
Which were string quartets dedicated to Haydn.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Papa Haydn.
Papa Haydn. So, yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. He sort of had this like mentor figure growing up, and he also had someone that maybe kind of showed him the ropes, or maybe they were just friends. Unclear.
And they were in a band.
They were in a band together. It seems like it was a significant relationship.
Yeah, it's kind of cool when you see that like musical overlap of, you're like, wow, the music scene.
It was that small.
So small.
It really was. Everyone knows everyone, it turns out. And so at this point, his boss, Haydn's boss, Nikolaus, he passes away.
Oh, yeah.
He's dead. And his son Anton takes over, and Anton does not have the same value for the arts that his father has.
No, he's got other plans. He
kind of sucks. Yeah. So he chops up his contract, basically decreasing Haydn's pay, and also taking away some of his musicians. And so at this point, Haydn is like, I think it's time for me to move on.
It's about time.
So he takes on another job, and he goes and he moves to London. And he was already pretty popular there because after Bach died in 1782, Haydn had become the toast of London. Like, his music was the most popular in terms of like the concert scene. His symphonies were taking over. And so people were already like, oh yeah, this guy, I know about him.
Yes.
How exciting that he's here now. And so when he's in London, this is really when he like leans into writing larger symphonies and also performing, which is really where he starts to get like the notoriety that he gets at the end of his life. Do you want to tell us about the London Symphonies?
The London Symphonies. Yeah, so the London Symphonies, there's like two sets because he does two big trips to London where he like premieres and does the concerts for these symphonies. So it's like, I don't think we have them listed here, but there's like a few sets. Okay. Yeah, there's a few sets of symphonies in each of the visits. One of the fun ones that we get to talk about, I think is this is one of my favorite little anecdotes that we read, was one of the famous ones is the Surprise Symphony. It's number 94 within the London Symphonies, and it has this nickname because it started kind of calmly, it's
pretty like melodic.
Everyone's kind of playing together, and then later in the second movement, there's like this dramatic turn. There's this loud and fast section, and so apparently Haydn was tired of people falling asleep during symphonies, and he was like, I'm just going to try and wake him up with my music.
I'm going to mix it up a little bit.
And so if you listen to the surprise symphony, you can hear it's like, oh, sweet. Like it's lulling you to sleep.
Mhm.
And then boom.
Surprise. Aptly named, honestly.
So, yeah, it's funny because the same trip when we went to Austria, it's so funny when we were reading about this, and I was like, oh my gosh, this reminds me of the time where we were literally in Austria, like
we were.
his
His hometown.
And we were so jet lagged from our trip there. And like, I guess the whole thing is like, when you go on a trip, it's like, you have to stay up as long as you can, so that you can kind of enjoy the rest of the trip and be on like that time.
Yeah.
And so our company or whatever that we traveled with, they like booked out our entire day so that
after thing.
just
it was the longest day in the world.
It was the longest day ever. We've just gotten there from flying all day, and then we had things to go and do. And one of the things we went to do was like sit and watch a symphony. And I don't think there was a single person in that room that made it through the entire symphony.
I hoped it would be in like a dark hall, and we could sit in the back, and I would, because I was
just like a massive ballroom, lights on.
Yeah, I knew I was going to fall asleep, and I felt so guilty, and I was like, well, at least the performers won't know that I'm sleeping. No, lights on, the most uncomfortable chairs.
They fortunately put we were in the back,
but it was still a pretty shallow room.
If I was a performer on the stage and I looked out, I would see just rows of children sleeping.
Rows of high schoolers wearing t-shirts, sleeping. There are photos of me like sleeping on other people. I was just dead to the world.
I remember they brought out like dancers.
I don't know. I slept through it. I couldn't tell you. It was quite the performance.
I was lucid through parts of it.
It felt like a dream, the whole thing. Probably because it mostly was for me. I slept through a lot of that trip. The first 2 days, I fell asleep at every meal that we went to.
It was a lot of sleeping.
And so I understand where Haydn was coming from.
Yes.
With the surprise symphony.
Well, I also understand where the audience was coming from.
Yes, their beds. They were very tired. Okay, so at this point, the London Symphonies, he's working. He finally takes a vacation, which it doesn't seem that he did frequently. And he went to Oxford, which is where he wrote the Oxford Symphonies.
Fitting.
Makes a lot of sense.
Fitting.
And then he meets Beethoven in London, I think probably when he comes back from this. And later he eventually becomes Beethoven's teacher.
Wow.
Yes. But near the end of his life, this is now 1795, we're about 13 years from the end of his life, he goes back to Vienna. And he was super famous at this point. He's basically doing his victory lap, and he becomes the part-time Kapellmeister for Nikolaus II. So the grandchild of his former boss, who he worked for forever. And at this point, he is pretty prolific. And at some point here, he writes the melody of the song that is now the German national anthem.
Wow.
There's a fun fact for you.
That is a fun fact. Everybody,
couldn't sing it for you if I had to. But
no.
I'm not German, so, well, not really. But
you have been doing a good job with all of the German pronunciations.
Thank you. I took a lot of German to get my music degree. So he's pretty old at this point now. He's kind of starting to struggle with his health. He had something called arteriosclerosis, which means hardening of the arteries.
Oh, that can't be good.
Yeah, so he had really swollen legs and arms, and his skin was very turgid. Hate that word, but he's not well. He's not doing super well.
Super hot,
unfortunately, and he's kind of in the final stages of his life. And his final public hurrah was a performance organized in honor of him. And it was of The Creation, which is one of his well-known symphonies, and at this point was very popular.
Yeah. I think it's an oratorio.
You're right.
It's oratorio.
You're right.
Yeah.
Thank you. He's rolling in his grave.
How dare
How
you?
could I? So this final hurrah is this performance of The Creation, which is an oratorio, which I know and I've always said. And and it's organized.
It's gonna be like a flashback where it's the trend where it's it's gonna be, which I know and I've always said, it's a symphony.
Yeah, you feel free to put that in there. Which is one of his well-known symphonies. And so this was organized by a bunch of other musicians and composers. Beethoven is there, and Salieri is there, and they meet him on stage, and they bring him out, and they give him this like place to sit. His place of honor. And Salieri, I guess, was the one who like organized all of this. Yeah. And so he was so moved and so exhausted by all of this that he had to leave at intermission.
Oh,
which is sad. Very sad. He knew how it ended, but
yeah, it was. I know what.
I can go home. I'm fine. Thank you very much. Exactly. And so the last days of his life were actually pretty insane. They were crazy.
Yes, tell us about it.
So early May 1809, which is the last month of his life, the French army decides it's time to attack Vienna under the direction of Napoleon. And for some reason, the neighborhood in which Mr. Haydn was living happened to be one of the areas that was targeted specifically by like the cannons and the things. And so he like projectiles are coming into his home, and he calls out to his large staff of people, "Don't be afraid, children. Where Haydn is, no harm can reach you." But it seemed that he was a lot braver than, or he was trying to appear braver than he actually was, because
Or
then
that his body was.
his body was like, no, I don't agree with that. And so he becomes like, so he's like trembling uncontrollably, basically. And he just starts to go downhill from this point onward. And then on May 26th, he sets at his piano and he plays the Emperor's Hymn, which is another of his compositions, 3 times with immense gusto, and then collapsed. And then he was taken to the bed where he would die on May 31st.
It's that Emperor's Hymn that'll do you.
It will take you out.
And the unusual gusto.
And the unusual gusto. If I ever do anything with unusual gusto, the end is near. The end is near. And so that's how our dear Joseph died.
And that's the end of Joseph.
Yeah.
Joseph Haydn.
It is.
But he gave us a lot, you know? He gave us our quartet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he didn't necessarily create it, but he really made
popularized it.
He popularized it.
And he's responsible for a lot of, I think, the conventions of that, as well as some of those symphonies that are very popular.
Yeah.
The London symphonies, both sets of those. And of course, Surprise. The Surprise Symphony, which will be taught in every like music history and composition class until the end of time. Until we're not allowed to teach it anymore.
As long as music is anywhere.
As long as there's music, you will hear that little ditty in your music history class.
So that's been our episode. It's been so fun to be in person.
It has been. Now, time for you to go.
Bye-bye. But yes, this has been our Haydn episode. Haydn in plain sight, as I like to say.
That's what it should be called.
Haydn, yeah. And look forward to seeing you all next week, every other listener.
Yes. Goodbye, Mom.
Listen to you next week, Mom.
See you next week.
Bye, Mom. Bye, Sherry.
She's gonna eat this up. She loves it.
Still love a good.
She can't get enough. Yeah, exactly. Oh, they said my name. I'm famous.
Leave a comment if you listen to the Sherry.
I don't know if she knows how to do that. We'll find out.
All right. Talk to you next week.